Okay. Our gospel lesson today comes from the 5th chapter of the Gospel according to Matthew. This is a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus is talking to his disciples, teaching them about kingdom living. Last week we heard about not coming to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Well, here's what Jesus says. You've heard that it was said to those of ancient times, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that if you are angry with a brother or sister, you will be liable to judgment. And if you insult a brother or sister, you will be liable to the council. And if you say, you fool, you will be liable to the hell of fire. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go and first be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are on the way to court with him. Or your accuser may hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will never get out until you've paid the last penny. You've heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to go into hell. It was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that anyone who divorces his wife except on the ground of unchastity causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of ancient times, you shall not swear falsely, but carry out the vows you have made to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it's the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one. Make things happen up here. You know, we all like rules, don't we?
No.
No? I like rules. It's so much easier to know what you're supposed to do if you've got a rule. I mean, it's there in black and white, right?
Okay.
You can even check it off. Hey, I did this today. I did this today. It's a list, you know. And sometimes we think of the Ten Commandments as one of those lists of things. Oh, I didn't commit murder today. Okay. I'm better. Okay, I'll get there. Well, I remember a story. It was about a lady who was involved in a road rage. She had quite a day. She was not happy, and she was driving along, and the patrolman was following her, and she was just running right up behind this person, running right back, and honking the horn, and maybe using a few hand gestures, and he turned on his siren and his lights, and he pulled her over. And he made her get out of the car and put her hands up on the hood there, and then he said, or she said, "What's this for, officer?" And he said, "Well, this must be a stolen car." "Well, I didn't steal my car. This is my car." Well, I sure thought it was a stolen car because on the back there was a little symbol. It looked like a cross, and WWJD right next to it. What would Jesus do is what I remember it saying. So anybody driving this car, it must be stolen the way it was being used. The person was doing that. Interesting. What kind of rule was that she was breaking? She was really not showing her light of Jesus in what she was doing. You remember, Jesus came to fill out the law. Not necessarily to erase the law, but to give us more meaning about what Jesus or what God really meant when he gave that law. Not just black and white, not meeting the minimum requirements. I know that there are many times that we think of things like, well, how much can I get away with and still not get a speeding ticket? Is it 4 miles an hour? Or 9 miles an hour? What can I get by with? What's my minimum requirement to get into heaven? Yeah, that's a good question. God gave us commandments, and this is what Moses was saying in his final words in Deuteronomy. Choose life. Choose life. Follow the commandments. Follow what God means in those commandments. Don't be looking for loopholes. We all like loopholes, especially at tax time, right? Loopholes are ways to get around that idea. How much can I get away with? Well, Jesus gives us a couple of answers. The idea about murder. It's the same thing as anger. Murder comes out of anger, and anger just really does a lot of damage to relationships. I mean, we have reputations that can be damaged beyond repair. We've got retribution. We've got retaliation. I mean, retaliation, that happens so frequently, and then it causes fear and hate. Now, Maya Angelou put it this way: hate has caused a lot of problems in this world, but it has not solved one. Hate has never solved the problem, and that is stemming from anger. See, God is trying to say we are children of the living God, all of us. But we have lived, we've come up in this culture of anger, and sometimes we have to think about what kind of message are we giving to our kids in this day and age. When we have video games that are talking about killing and how many people can I kill, or how many enemies can I kill with ray guns or whatever. I don't follow those very well. The idea is that when we are bringing up people in this culture of anger, and we hear it every day on the news, anywhere we want to, about different people being angry with different things. That's what our kids are hearing. And what they're also hearing is that if it is so rampant, it must be okay. That's the wrong message. Loopholes. Jesus is trying to fill out those loopholes and let us know that God really does not want us to be angry with each other. God wants us to find ways to reconcile our differences. We can have differences, but we can also get along together. God wants us to all know that we are children of the living God. But then Jesus goes on to say, you've also heard it said that you should not commit adultery. Well, you know what adultery is? It's basically, according to what Jesus was saying, it's all man's problem. So men, keep that in mind. You know, women, I know, never look at men, right? You know, never. I didn't think so. It's all about objectifying people, turning people into objects, labeling them as this group is good, this group is not good, this group we haven't decided yet. We have political parties that do the same thing. We have different groups, different nationalities that do the same kind of thing. We put people into categories. We've done that in the educational system. We've done it everywhere. Put people into categories, objectify them. I must be better than that category. Or maybe that category is better than I am, and I have to live up to it. The same kind of thing with divorce. Divorce is about broken relationships. What God is asking us to do through Jesus is heal those relationships. Reconcile your differences. May not mean a marriage comes back together, but there has to be reconciliation because relationships are what God is all about. And sometimes the way we deal with anger or objectifying or broken relationships, that kind of gives us a barometer of our own relationship with God. And the last one that he talks about, at least in this lection, is about lying, swearing falsely. Now, I can do a lot of swearing, and my hair's not going to change color. That's what the scripture says. Well, they're right. It doesn't work. What Jesus is talking about is just trust. If we are not telling the truth, the whole truth, not just partial truths or white lies or not being transparent, if we are not being true to ourselves and to our neighbors, we're not going to be true with God either. And yet God knows. We are here for relationships because once we break that trust, that relationship is really hard to bring back together. Jesus is trying to tell us that what God has meant all this time is that relationships are the primary objective. From the commandments, from everything else, from creation, from community, from church even. It's just the idea that relationships matter. God created us to have a relationship with someone else, and especially with Him. God created us to have life. Now, He gave us that gift of life. He gave us the gift of the 10 Commandments. He gave us Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Those are great gifts, and peace and reconciliation are part of what Jesus is talking about and trying to be relational. If we have a gift of a pencil, just like that, I don't know, it's hard to see that up here, isn't it? If we've been given a gift of a pencil, what good is it? Unless we start writing with it. Now, my kids might have thrown it at me, but the gift has to be used. The gift that God has given us of the light and life of Jesus Christ in our lives has got to be used. Because God's ultimate message is, Happy Valentine's Day. I love you. That's the important thing. I love you, says God.